to the Louie Belina Show Wednesday. The Louie Belina Show presented by CC Electric. Let us begin. PSA, programming service announcement. This is not the Wednesday you think it is. Normally, Chip Howard of Chip Howard Sports Talk, 1120, joins me inside the Charles Schwab studio. That's not happening. Originally, like if you get the Zone newsletter, which I hope you do, 8 a.m. each morning, Monday through Friday, shows up in your inbox. We email it to you, and you know what's going on with the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, Chip Howard Sports Talk. Oh, yeah, Texags Live. What's the events, contests, promotions that we're doing on the Zone? What games do we have on Brian Broadcasting? The Zone newsletter kind of rocks. Well, if you open it up this morning, it said 12:35 on the D4 Land Services hotline. Bubba Bush of BV MMA and Fitness. Not happening. Bubba under the weather. So no Bubba Bush of BV MMA and Fitness. No Chip Howard of Chip Howard Sports Talk. Aha. Lou, then what are we going to do? Thank you for asking. Today at 11:35, Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach, is going to do a Missouri preview. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Aggies host Mizzou. A&M, let's get back on track. Let's get the Dubs going. Let's start building that tournament resume again. Aggies are fine. They're in good shape. They went 0-2 against Bama and Florida. No damage done. Losing to Missouri could be damage done. We're going to talk about that throughout our time together here on the Louie Belina Show between now and 1 o'clock. At 12 o'clock straight up, Tony Catalina of the Austin American-Statesman, who is the A&M beat writer for the Austin American-Statesman, will join me here inside the beautiful and very comfortable Charles Schwab studio. We'll talk Bucky ball, Aggie baseball, and quite a bit of Aggie football. See, I follow Tony on X Twitter, and he's posting quite a bit of football right now. And I'm like, so he's thinking 2026 like me. Tony Catalina on the inside the Charles Schwab studio, 12 o'clock today. At 12:35, Trisha Ford, Aggie softball head coach, she did a preview of the Clearwater Classic. That's where the Aggies will be over the weekend. Going to be tested, playing some great teams. Going to be some great softball. Excited. The second weekend of the 2026 season. A lot of Aggie coaches today. Think about it. Bucky at 11:35, Trisha Ford at 12:35. So that is what the Louie Belina Show will be on a Wednesday. Sure, maybe it's not the original plan. It's all good. The final part of the equation is you. You can text me. You can call me at 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. Call me crazy, and many do, but you're going to text. It's easy. Hit send, kick back, wait to hear what I think, wait to hear, if I have any thoughts or don't care. But you'll hit send, and I'll see what you have to say inside the Texas Mobile One Lube Express inbox. Texas Mobile One Lube Express, owned by Gabriel Garcia. 979-693-1150. That's 1150. We'll begin our day, as we do, inside the maroon and white notebook. Billy Lucci, Texags Universe, the source, as I've heard him called, put out a tweet, and this was about 10 to 15 minutes ago, and it's a list of the Aggies that will be at the NFL Combine. Running back, Le'Veon Moss. Wide receiver, Casey Concepcion. A lot of offensive linemen, as you would imagine. Chase Basantes, Armaj, Reed Adams, Demetrius Crownover, Trey Zune. Of all of them, I think I'm the most fascinated by Armaj Reed Adams. If you go back to August, now interior O linemen are not the most valued. The elite upper top most have that shot to go first round. But, tackles in college end up guard centers in NFL. kind of that process. But his NFL-ness was never, it was undeniable. Of all the offensive linemen, I've heard the absolute least, seen the least, caught the least. Because I've seen Basantes today for the first time. I caught him in the first round of a mock. Field Yates at ESPN.com, and I think he's one of their two. You can read, it's legit, it's not for effect, it's not to get clicks or anything. It's actually really good NFL draft stuff. He has Basantes going at 32. He has 3 Aggies in the first round, matter of fact, with Basantes being the third, with, of course, Concepcion and Cassius Howell. But I've now seen Basantes as first and second. I've seen Zune as second. And, of course, Demetrius Crownover as second. But I haven't seen Armaj Reed pop up yet in a first, second, or third. So he fascinates me, of the O-line group. Combine, can he go make money? The rest of the Aggies, according to Billy Lucci, Texags, Texags.com, Texags Live, Texags Universe, The Source. His Twitter X. Tight end, Nate Borkacher. D-end, Cassius Howell. D-tackle, Albert Regis. D-tackle, Tyler Onyedum. And both of the D-tackles are like wild cards. I'm thinking you could have 3 Aggies go in the first and 3 go in the second. You could have 2 in the first, 4 in the second. That first, second, third round, what used to be considered day one, I think you'll have 6. Some combination of. And you could sneak in, look up, and there's Albert Regis in the third, Onyedum in the third, and have a safe 6, if not more potentially, because where's Regis going to go? Where's Onyedum going to go? And Onyedum's someone who went stock up. And look, East-West Shrine Game Senior Bowl, I forget which one, he went and blew it up, and they can go to the combine and build on that, and then there's a pro day. He's someone who has a lot of room left to continue his stock up of the NFL draft offseason. So, fascinated. Torian York, we saw third round in a mock. Scooby Williams and Will Lee, the blanket. Those are the Aggies, according to Billy Lucci, that got their combine invites. Le'Veon Moss, Concepcion, Basantes, Reed Adams, Crownover, Zune, Borkacher, Howell, Regis, Onyedum, York, Williams, and Lee. 6, 9, 12, like 15 Aggies. That's a lot. And that's why they won 11-1. That's how Elko said it. Not a revolutionary statement. He said they need, 10 plus players a year drafted in the NFL if they're going to contend. And off of an 11-win team, not all 15 will get drafted, but they're going to have 10, I believe. That's the formula. Continuing in the maroon and white notebook, just something that I thought was kind of fun, and I think it was The Athletic that did it, but they reordered the quarterbacks of the 2023 class. Reordered the quarterbacks of the 2023 class, and Dante Moore now gets the number 1 ranking. Arch Manning, who was number 1, is now 2, and I'm fine with that. Marcel Reed, Texas A&M, was the number 20 quarterback. Number 20 quarterback in that class. He was the number 296 player overall, regardless of position. Number 20 quarterback and 296 ranking. And now, in the reordered, and this is quarterbacks, they have him at 5. I looked at 6 as Lenore Sellers, 7, Nico, I'm going to leave you and screw you over. Oh, that's not his full last name. That's not his driver's license name. Number 8, Davian Dampier, Utah. 9 is Avery Johnson at Kansas State. So if you want to argue, because a lot of people are on their anti-Marcel Reed portion of the offseason, I would take Marcel over Amaliva. I'd take him over Dampier. I'd take him over Avery Johnson. I'd take him over all the guys behind him. No arguments for me. So we can still dispute how much Reed should not be, where he should not be in his career. But I'd still take him over Lenoris, Nico, Dampier, and Avery Johnson. So I'm comfortable with Marcel in the 5. In front of him, Sam Levitt at 4, Darian Mensah at 3, and we already said Arch Manning 2, and Dante Moore at 1. So that reordering the quarterbacks of that class. But when you're recruiting and, you got the number 5 quarterback and a player that was 296, I think you've gotten your value. I think you did well with the results so far. Now, here's the challenge, and I think everybody understands this part of the challenge. How do you improve on 11 wins? Because you should improve each season. And I think the answer is you don't improve on 11 wins. You can go 10-2, but now you win the college football playoff game. That's the improvement for the 2026 season. It's not more wins, it's what you win. You need to beat Texas this year. You need to win the college football playoff game because you can't step back. Marcel can't step back, and you can't go, well, it's perfectly understandable. They lost 4 offensive linemen and their best cover corner. Obviously, Lou, there was going to be a step back. Are you stupid? I'm not stupid, but it's year 3. And you can't go, yeah, they move forward too fast. You have not in a transfer portal year. Do I have to understand? Do I have to go, well, of course they're going to step back. I mean, that's not how things work, where in 1 year you can portal in 30, high school class of 20, turn over 50, and maintain your status. Like, do I have to understand? I don't think so. Do you? Just a thought. And you're going to have a quarterback who's going to go into his 3rd year of starting. I know first year wasn't full, but still 3rd year of starting. I mean, I don't think I have to understand that you have to step back. Brutal schedule. I've been looking at it. It's tough. But still, I don't think I have to understand that you have to step back at all, actually. So, but yeah, thought that was fascinating. Marcel was the number 20 quarterback in his class, now 5 and 296 player. And no, he's far from that. So phenomenal progression. Great get looking versus value. But last year, just one last step. That's all you asked for. 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150. You can text along. We're in the Maroon and White Notebook. These are the Maroon and White Notebook on the Louie Belina Show to help you out. These are the things I see kind of from others. Anything Texas A&M. It's not just football, but anything I see. And of course, things going on in the Texas A&M athletics universe. First one was The Athletic, and then you had CBSSports.com. And here's another one. And this is going to be nonstop. The top 25 teams all offseason. Top 25 key games, key players, trap games. It's just part of the offseason cycle, right? Saw one this morning, and it was, CBSSports.com. Top 25 most pivotal games. For Texas, and the only reason I'm bringing up the Longhorn one, they said it's the Ohio State game this year. Don't care. That's fine. And that's not even, see, why are you talking about it then? Like, what's your point? Easy. Their first sentence made me chuckle. Quote, ultimately, a non-conference season opening loss to Ohio State kept Texas out of the CFP last fall. False narrative, incorrect, wrong. What kept Texas out of the CFP last fall? It wasn't losing to Ohio State in the first game. The Longhorns ended up out of the CFP because they lost to Florida in SEC play. That was a loss that cannot be overlooked. That was a really bad loss to a really bad team. That was a poison arrow on their resume. That's why they ended up not in the college football playoff. That would have been their 10th win. It's not the Ohio State loss. That's my belief anyway. That's where it all went wrong. They lost, 29-21 to a Florida team that as the year went on, we found out, discovered, realized that they were awful, really bad. And that would have been their 10th win. And a 10-2 Texas team is going to go to the college football playoff. Miami might have got left out. A&M and Texas might have rematched. So it wasn't the Ohio State game. That's the only reason I read that sentence and went, Again, the buzzer went off in my head. And I guess that's the national narrative. Like, ooh, Ohio State. No, Florida game. They beat Florida They're in the college football playoff. And maybe they're rematching A&M in the 7-10. How insane could that have been? What is it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? I forgot. You have the delay. So 17 weeks later, when the first round of the college football playoff would have taken place, A&M and Texas rematch at Kyle Field was it 8 a.m. in the morning? When was the kickoff of that? I'm being sarcastic to a degree. Sorry. So I'm going to take a time out here, but you can think, you can text. What is A&M's most pivotal game of the 2026 season? Because A&M is a top 25 team. So all off season long, when anybody, Alphabet Soup, CBS, ESPN, Athletics, not really Alphabet, but still the Athletic, when they do X for every top 25, A&M's going to pop up because A&M is 6, 7, 8, 9, in every way too early. A&M is 6, according to CBSSports.com. What is A&M's most pivotal game for football 2026? I sat down, kind of charted it, took a look at it, and I was fascinated by the different answers that kept creeping up into my head looking at it. What do you think? 979-693-1150. You can text if you'd like to weigh in. And when we return in about 4 minutes, 8 seconds, I'll share what they said, what I say, and what you say. But also remember something. All week long here on the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, when you've been texting, you're actually also, besides having fun, registering for a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Troubadour Festival. Each day, when I'm done, I pick a name. Friday, when I'm done, I'm going to draw one final name from all the people that got registered. Bam! Pair of tickets. You're going to get to go to the Troubadour Festival. And these tickets are good for both the barbecue and the music. 30 of the top barbecue joints from around the state of Texas. Robert O'Keefe is headlining the music. So, you could text because you've got the insight into Aggie football and you want to help solve and crack the code. You can text because you just want to get it off your chest. And you can text because you know the answer. What is the most pivotal game for Aggie football 2026? I'll be right back. It's the Louie Belina Show. I'm sitting inside the Charles Schwab studio on the Zone.
Visit the Pod Center at zone1150.com and find every hour of every day of your favorite shows. Download or subscribe.
The Louie Belina Show. We are just getting started. 11:35. Listen in. Bucky with a Missouri preview. 12 o'clock. Tony Catalina of the Austin American Statesman joins me inside the Charles Schwab studio. We just talk all things A&M athletics. He is the Aggie athletics beat writer for the Austin American Statesman. 12:35, Trisha Ford Clearwater preview. Aggie tournament this weekend, softball, and they're taking on some serious teams. Going to be a lot of fun. So that's all still to come. Your text messages are welcome. The question on the table, the most pivotal game for Aggie football 2026. There's a question I saw put forth. CBSSports.com did it for every top 25 team. And for Notre Dame, it's the Miami game. For Oregon, it's the USC game. For Georgia, oddly, it's the Ole Miss game. They said for Texas, it's their Ohio State game. So for Texas A&M, Aggie football, I came up with like 4. So that should tell you my thoughts on the season of the most pivotal game. Because if you take a look just in the month of September, very last game, they're going back to Baton Rouge. The wonderful SEC scheduling where you can go to the same place, road, back-to-back years. It's the quirk of this 4-year grid that starts this year was a reset. So the past didn't matter because they went to 9 games. People keep asking, why are we back-to-back Baton Rouge? Because the past did not factor into the future when they went to 9. Don't ask me why on that part, but that's the why. It'll be month number 1. LSU, Sam Leavitt, Lane Kiffin, all are going to be figuring out their identity. They won't be whole or 100%. Aggie football with a brand new rebuilding offensive line won't be 100%. Neither will the defense. That's what makes that game, the word pivotable, that's not even a word. Pivotal is dangerous, but you can't, and we're talking about, by the way, when we talk Aggie football on the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, we're We have always talked about championships. We've never talked about how to make a bowl. I've always had to be clear about that because sometimes people are like, you're mean, you're too harsh. No, we talk championship standards, always. Yes, as they've won 8 games, or lost 4 or more games a year for like 25 out of 28 years. It's always been a championship standard. Well, to win 10 or more, which is needed SEC college football playoff standard, you can't leak games. You got to beat LSU and LSU. Because if you take that as a loss, that means you have one more to give, and you still got to go to Tuscaloosa, last game in October, to Norman, November 21st, and the very next week you have to host Texas, who you haven't beat yet. You'd have to win 2 of those 3. You're putting yourself on thin ice. That gives you no leverage, no leeway. And that last game, September, at Baton Rouge, you, Aggie football, will not be in midseason form or your final form, rebuilding the O-line. You're going to be retooling the secondary with Will Lee gone. They're still going to be, both sides. It's both sides. October 24th, last game in the month of October. You're going to be in Tuscaloosa. To be honest with you, I don't know what to expect from Alabama. Seeing them as a way too early preseason, 14, 15, 16 is freakish to me. Aren't we all, instead of 14, 15, 16, isn't that supposed to be like 4, 5, and 6? That's Alabama football. With no pressure expectation, will this be the breakout season? Who's going to be the quarterback? Is Ryan Williams now going to lead the country in touchdown catches, or he's still going to, try and qualify for the most drops? And I don't care who you are, you're going to Tuscaloosa. Maybe you're going to get the desperate version of them at this point because they already have 2 losses and need to win out. With how brutal the schedule is, obviously, in November, you can't take a loss before that stretch starts. Is Alabama the most pivatable? I'm just going to use that word and go with it. I know ABLE on pivatable. I don't even know. Maybe that's a real word somewhere, but I like the word a lot. Now, the very last 2 games, games 11 and 12, I don't fear the Reaper and I don't fear the Sooners. But the one thing in the end I gave them credit for is that nobody in the universe wants to play their defense. They did make the college football playoff, if people remember, right? And they had a defense that no team ever, even 2019 LSU's offense, would not want to go against that defense. But you drooled when you looked at their offense and you couldn't wait to go against it because it was so bad. That game's in Norman. Their defense might score 3 touchdowns. With Marcel Reed's uncomfortableness with pressure and perceived pressure, I don't know if that's the best matchup in the world for A&M and Marcel is that Oklahoma defense. That's going to be a fascinating game. And the idea of potentially dropping a game before Texas is haunting. Is because the Texas game, I don't know if it's in their head or what, but you're 0-2 now. Last year, stylistically, you are perfectly built. You are everything that Texas defense should have feared. You should have ate their souls. And you struggled again for 2 straight years just to get first downs, right? And then is the most pivotal game, Texas again. Is that the one? Texas, is it going to be for the 3rd straight year a shot at the SEC championship game on the line? Well, this year, maybe A&M's going to have, a loss and not be 11-0. Is the college football playoff berth going to be on the line of the winner of that game, both A&M and Texas, going to have it at stake? If that's true, that's the most pivotal game, period. If you're going to have A&M Texas, winner goes to the college football playoff, loser's going to go to the McFly's, Cheetos, Dorito Brute Bowl, then that's not even a question. That's the winner. We don't have to discuss it, right? But we won't know until the week of. So I've got 4 most pivotal or pivotable, whichever world you want to go with here, games for the 2026 season. And you can't have most be 4. That's cheating. And they can't all be the most. Texas could be. I'm going to argue if I have to pick one. By the way, which one are you picking? 979-693-1150. Text me. Tell me. Which, I mean, if you don't think it's one of those 4, hey, make an argument. It's fine with me. I'm open. I'm listening. Jimmy in the Woodlands, I'm staring at the Texas Mobile and Lube Express inbox, says, Alabama is the do or die game that will set the tone for the back half of the season. I have a concept, an argument for it, because if you lose in Tuscaloosa, going into the brutality of the final month, that's a big ask. That's a brutal ask. That would be a rough sell to me, Jimmy. So I see the world you're coming from on this story. I really do. If you were to lose that one, last game, boy, that would be rough. I ain't going to lie to you. Sure, you can overcome. There's 4 games left. Look at the quality of opponents. I know how to spin it in a positive nature, but you're going to lose. Now, what if it's an undefeated Alabama team that's ranked 2 in the country? So there's always angles and storylines, but you lose that, and then the month ahead, that final month, November, is at South Carolina, Tennessee, at Oklahoma, and Texas. Nah, that ain't the way it is. It's written to November. So maybe that is the most pivotal and pivotable. Don't know. But that Oklahoma game in Norman, right before the short Friday night at 6, again, Texas game. You can't lose that and then hope to bounce back confidence-wise and many other reasons. But on top of that, how beat up are you going to be facing that OU defense too? Right? 979-693-1150. You can take your selection from any of those 4. You got your own. You're going to go with the Texas game. Because again, it should be Texas. That's what the stakes these two should play for. But I can't put all these conditionals on it and go with it. Because A&M Texas, the winner should probably go to the SEC title game. The loser should probably lose a college football playoff slot and the SEC title game. Ain't nothing more pivotal than that, really, right? When we return, up next here on the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, built on faith, family, and community. That's CC Electric. Up next, I got that Bucky McMillan listen-in where he's going to do the Missouri preview tonight, 8 o'clock, Reed Arena. Aggie's looking to get back on track. By the way, a heads up. Tonight, starting at 7:30, we call it the pregame, you can hear Aggie basketball over on News Talk 1620, 94.5, WTAW, and you can also listen at radioaggieland.com. I'll be right back. It's the Louie Belina Show, Wednesday on the Zone.
Every Wednesday at noon, Tony Catalina of the Austin American-Statesman joins the Louie Belina Show to talk everything maroon and white. Listen in on the Zone.
Available in select states and ends 3/2/26.
Start your Sunday mornings with the best week ever from ESPN Radio. Yes! Listen in from 6 to 9 on the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.
The Louie Belina Show from inside the Charles Schwab studio on It's Still Wednesday. Yes, it is. In uncertain times, Charles Schwab remains invested in their clients by offering personalized guidance and clarity. You can contact Mark Sim right here in College Station. Eat here, sleep here. He goes to the games too. Get answers to your questions. Learn more at schwab.com/College Station. Time now. The listen-in. Bucky McMillan, A&M basketball head coach, met with the media. It's a Missouri Tigers preview.
Missouri is crazy because they're a team that's beating Florida and Kentucky, but loses to some of the lesser teams in the conference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously very capable team. They're long, they're big. They have shot makers. Dangerous team, could beat anybody. They've shown at times that they could get wins at home, and shown at times they can play well on the road. So, be a fight, be a physical game. We just got to worry about playing our best basketball. Obviously, and usually things work out when we do that.
You spend more time talking about your team since Saturday than your next opponent.
Yeah, we kind of do a mix of both, but it's mainly us. I think at the end of the day, we talk about, we played 3 games last week, a Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. And we played maybe the best game we played all year at Georgia. We played one of the best games we played all year at Alabama. Even though we didn't win, it's irrelevant. It's how we played. We played great. We put 97, almost won at a spot that no one ever wins at, with their whole roster and added roster, right? And then we just didn't play a good game versus Florida. But, you can be short-term and forget that a week before we played a great game, and 3 days before that we played an awesome game as well. Games before that was Mississippi State and South Carolina, where we were phenomenal. So we just got to, play like we've been playing for the most part.
Since you brought up Alabama, should y'all get a win? They play with an illegal player. So
no, I can't comment on it. I jokingly say this in every single way. So don't take one part of what I'm about to say, because I don't want no social media wars. A complete joke was, I don't want anything to be counted against an ineligible player. I just want his points not to count. And I think he scored like five or six on us, so we win. That is a joke. So nobody get out there where we have death threats going on. It's not for me to decide is the reality of it. Yeah.
But to that point, when the committee looks at that game in the future, do you hope that is factored in when kind of looking at resumes and everything?
Well, the you hope it's got to be, but we're trying to compete and try to get the best seed for the SEC tournament. We'd love to get the 1 seed. We'd love to go try to win the league, right? We know that. I'm not talking about Alabama. I don't care about Alabama. How do they make it right for us? How is it made right for us? Right? That's the only case. I don't. They could do that. That's not my deal. How's it made right for us? Because they're not going to be able to play with their full roster against the other teams when we had to play against their full roster. And that's just that's something that, you hope, I don't know how that's made right for us. And for the NCAA tournament. And also, obviously, people say for the NCAA tournament, well, we got to look at this for the NCAA tournament that, you had to play against a team at full strength in that regard. But let's just throw out the NCAA tournament. Let's talk about the SEC race and the SEC seeding and a pursuit of a regular season, competing as high to try to win the SEC. You certainly that playing those guys at full strength, and they're not able to play other teams at full strength. That's a disadvantage to us. We know that. So.
When you look back at the Florida game and you look at the first half film or whatnot, how do you kind of diagnose what was going on with the shooting, and how do you prevent another 0 for 23 streak again moving forward?
Well, if we took half court shots, we're probably going to make more than 1 out of 27. We know that. Now they played very good defense in the game. They have a lot of length. They're good on defense. I think that our guys were a little too amped in the game. Which sometimes it takes a game with the great crowd and all that for your guys for the next time they can settle in a little bit more. But you got to just focus on getting the right shots. Early, it's not so much the open shots that we missed, but what about the shots that we got blocked that we could have dropped it off to somebody? What about the 2-on-1s that we threw out of bounds? What about the missed layups that we had? So besides those, we missed several layups, had several 2-on-1s that we didn't convert. And, it's an 11-point game at half. And not only when we were missing those shots and they're blocking it and we're going to shoot a layup and be soft and just fall down, they got a 5-on-4 going the other way. So we spotted them, 6 points there on shots we should have been able to finish, and maybe we go into halftime with a lead. I dang sure know this, the physicality of that game, we came out there physical as you can be. That's not a game where someone would poke their chest out saying there is one team out physical the other team. That shows up in rebounding. And our guys battled being undersized, were able to rebound at a very high level in that game. I mentioned this to everybody. Our guys shouldn't walk away from that game thinking we didn't play great defense, because for the first 25 minutes of the game, or 24 minutes we got down by so much that they were going to get some dunks, because the only way to get back in it, trying to score the ball, was to pretty much go to we're going to steal it or you're going to get a dunk mode. So what as bad as it felt, like I said, but, it's a good team.
To your point about, feeling maybe a little too amped up, do you do you change maybe a little bit of how you go into like pregame routine at all? I mean, I'm sure you guys are hoping that y'all will play in some other big environments at home this season as well.
I wouldn't, I wouldn't change too much. We got to remind ourselves that the same routine we've done has been the same routine that's put us in a good position since in SEC play for sure. Right. So I just stay with it, and if it became a pattern, then I'd probably reevaluate it.
Does your messaging change at all coming off back-to-back losses? And do you use maybe what happened earlier this season when y'all had back-to-back losses and how y'all kind of bounce back as motivation?
Well, I didn't think we played well in our back-to-back losses. We played early in the year. We played Oklahoma State. We were not very good at all. Central Florida, we were actually good for about 25 minutes and not good. I think we played really well at Alabama. We didn't play well in the last game, but it wasn't an effort deal. It wasn't a physicality deal. So I don't really keep up. I keep up with how we're playing more than anything, more than wins or losses. So I'd stay with what we got, and knowing that we have to have the humility as a program to know that just like every other team, every night's not going to be perfect. I watched North Carolina State play Louisville last night, and North Carolina State's been a great defensive team, an in-state tournament team, and got beat by about 40 and gave up 120 points. You'll look up, and Alabama's a very good team, and they got pounded by 30. You got Missouri beat Florida. You got Vandy's a great team, and Oklahoma goes in there and gets them. It's just the way that it is. You got to understand that, how could this happen to us where we can't make a shot? That's what it is. We got to have the humility to understand that and know that the SEC, the SEC race, man, it's a gauntlet, and you got to have perseverance to keep going and get to the next game.
When you look at eligibility stuff, just going back to that real quick, how much of a topic of discussion is that among other coaches that you maybe talk with right now? And just, are there any things that you guys are talking about trying to fix or change as it currently stands?
With eligibility stuff? Yeah. There'll be topics in the offseason. I think the biggest deal with eligibility when it gets down to all this stuff is these ideas that people have, they're to take up in the offseason, right? I mean, that's where you take it up. It's like if we think, for example, if we think that, and you're asking the question about discussing it or implementing it, I mean, if we think because we can make a lot of threes from 30 feet and yet they're giving people 3 points because they can make three-pointers at 23 feet, why can't they be 4-pointers at 30 feet? Well, usually that's something after the season we talk about. We're not going to go in the middle of the season and say, well, we feel that they're making 23-footers, so let's make these worth 4 points all of a sudden in the middle of the season, right? That's not how it works. You go to the end of the season and we discuss that, and then everybody kind of votes on it, and then we go from there.
I guess kind of though, is it tough when some of that bleeds through into the season, throughout the middle of the season?
Well, is anybody, you got to have clarity on whether it's rules, whether it's who you can recruit. There has to be clarity, like the Europeans, for example, right? Everybody knew the Europeans were going to be eligible to come over here. We knew that in the recruiting cycle. Every coach knew that. Everybody knew that. So therefore, everybody got to recruit the Europeans, right? So that was, to me, very fair. We all knew it. So that's what's got to happen, with any rule change. And I'm not talking about any specific team. I don't want, I don't want anybody crying out there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about in general, right? There's got to be clarity with what you do where everybody has the ability to be playing on a level playing field, right? And that usually is done in the off season, so everybody has clarity going into the next season.
Why is it that European players who play professionally are eligible? What's the difference? Do you know?
Why they're eligible?
Why they're eligible as opposed to what Alabama?
Yeah. Okay, well, first off, it's the rules are clear about the NBA draft, right? So I'm not saying. And then the nature of the European system is totally different than here. There's no high schools. They come up in the farm system, in a pro-style farm system, right? They play for that club coming all the way up. So they're essentially, as soon as they start high school, they're kind of a pro in that regard, right? And that's why. Now, someone could argue, well, that, and I'm not disagreeing or agreeing that, hey, well, these people are eligible. Why can't we do this for these players or this for their players? They're, well, okay, that's something to talk about. And then after the season, we should talk about it,
Anything else for Coach?
Was there any conversation with the league officer or anything about what happened after the game, or is that pretty much just put to bed?
I think there's just a blanket deal that people try to get into. I didn't see much of it, like people ask me about it. Great, I'm really glad when we have teams that are have won national championships and in first place in the league, that if they get a win, they're so freaking happy. Like that means something. Like it's like if people got, if it's like, man, it got to be a lot of talk and a lot of jawing. That meant so much because they value that we're pretty good, right? So like the more that goes on, the more I'm like, good, we're getting there. That means something to them, So I like that personally. You know what I'm saying? And we'll be good. We'll be good.
What's that?
That wraps up our listen in. Bucky McMillan, Aggie basketball head coach, his Missouri preview, his thoughts on Bediako and the end of the Florida game, the hostilities, the heatedness of it, and more. This is the Louie Belina Show, presented by CC Electric, residential, commercial, industrial services. They do free estimates. They have military and veteran discounts too. That is CC Electric. When we come back, we're done. We're wrapping up hour number 1. It's the Louie Belina Show, Wednesday on The Zone.
Your home for Aggie baseball is the Zone 1150 AM and 93.7 FM.